So Andrew, do you want to take over?
I think the first presenter is Angie and Marsha, right?
All right.
So we're passing it to Angie,
So
right?
I want to welcome everybody to this session on elementary economics. We have 4 great presenters. Angie Battle, Program Manager at the Georgia Council, and Marsha Masters from Economic Arkansas, and they're going to talk about the why and how of elementary economic education. And then Andrew Hill, who's the Economic Education Officer at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, will talk a few minutes on the children's literature window, and then Selena Swartzfager, President of the Mississippi Council, will wrap up with Danny Dollars. So I'm going to turn it over to Angie and Marsha.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna speed right along because our time is valuable. Just to give us the what we're talking about, just like literacy skills, reading, writing, speaking, etc., are taught to our youngest learners, and we don't even think we don't even give it a second thought about that. But because those things are taught, then so should basic economic concepts, because they're both very valuable to us as we go along in life. All right. And what we do in elementary, what I call elementary land, is what we know is the foundation of our formal economic understanding. And those basic concepts, the ones that we really focus on, and I know we focus on it all across the country, is scarcity, choice, opportunity, cost, allocation, incentives, and trade. Those are the big ones, and I'm sure there's a couple more. These, and we have to make sure that we pay special attention to and be very intentional and very determined to do a good job with teaching our young ones these important concepts, because it's far more beneficial to learn basic economic concepts correctly early on rather than to unlearn misconceptions. And especially in the world in which we live, and this has been the way it's been for a while, but we in our space, we recognize how there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Well, if we focus on all of us, but if we do our part and we teach our young ones, then we can have them unlearn less. All right, so because the more you know. All right, Marsha.
Well, I hope this is rather interactive, because I see a lot of people who are in the same space and probably the same frustrations, or see some of the same opportunities that Angie and I do. I happen to be the first picture. I came to know about economic education because the lady who had my job decades before came to a faculty meeting after school. I was a hardworking educator who didn't teach economics because I didn't feel I had any space left in my day. I quickly now have found out how beneficial it is as a tool for students in the elementary setting. But we know teachers are overwhelmed. If we took a survey of everybody state that's represented today, you would say teachers have a lot on their plate. And in our state, maybe in your state, teachers are telling me that the emphasis is literacy, the emphasis is math, that's it. Even though science is a tested area in our state, that's become less of a mandate, leading to the literacy and math. So Angie and I were saying we can bemoan that fact. We can say we're being pushed out, or we can see how can we fit in and make them understand that what they're already doing with literacy has a great way to introduce economics. And so now we're beginning to think differently, because we do have opportunities that they can take advantage of. Literacy's it, and one of the big things is developing a culture of reading. I'm so thrilled that now when I do webinars with educators, they see that they can read the book because they were going to read the book anyway, and now they can introduce a little bit of economics along the way. One of our biggest things that attracts teachers to our workshops, and I know you all do this as well, is giving away a book, right? They will stay on after a long day of school for an hour webinar if you're going to give them a book. And the great thing is there's so many wonderful organizations out there, and don't think I don't look at all of your sites, that already have lessons to go with these great books. So that makes me feel so much happier about the fact that they have some great resource along the way. And you're right, Leslie, I love that Money on the Bookshelf, Money as You Start. Those are great as well. We've tried to take our teachers, and hopefully it's going to open back up, on location, because when we can get them to go to a fun place that they probably wouldn't get to go otherwise, they'll join us. And that's a hook for us as well. Because, most educators spend their life inside the four walls of their classroom. So at the elementary level, we've tried to say it's nothing extra. You can teach it through literacy easily, since you have to teach literacy like almost all of your day. Anyway, that's it. Everybody in our state's a literacy teacher. We say you could also be an econ teacher. Everyone in our state should be an econ teacher. But I think a great introduction for us is that we have begun to call on our center directors in our state to go into the universities. So I'm sure a lot of you do this, but I try to make my way into the door of a social studies methods class every semester around the state, and I give them something. Sometimes it's a clippy for potato chips that has our logo on it, but a lot of times I've given them a book, or I'm giving them a set of our compact guides, because our university professors have told us that the students in our state have a hard time with the praxis. And so when we give them the compact guides that we have through our organization, it's a good study for them, but it also clears up muddy waters of econ, because sometimes their perception or recollection is not always a great one as it relates to economics. So that's been a great one for us. The month of October, we invited every teacher in our state to all of our webinars and every education major. Not a lot came, but some came. And what they got for each webinar this month, in addition to that book, they got a $10 Walmart e-gift card. Of course, we're in Arkansas, so it had to be Walmart. So that some of them have got added a little money to their account, but they also have built their library thanks to great presenters, some of whom are on this screen right now that we've called upon to help us. So our mission at Economics Arkansas is also pre-K through high school. We did a terrible job really serving pre-K, but there are these two legends, which you probably read their papers. Mary and Bonnie have written a lot on the topic of why it's important to teach elementary. So I worked at a school that was an economics theme school, and I gave out their little article they wrote for the Minneapolis Fed, the case for elementary, for teaching economics in the elementary school. If you've never read that, you need to. They also did another one about why Johnny can't choose. Was that the title of it? I think. Andrew, you remember that one? They have a lot of great timeless pieces. We ought to reprint those, Andrew, so that everybody who hasn't seen those could put their hands on them. It's a valid case for why we need to start early. Well, Bonnie, Mary, and the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis created this fantastic curriculum called Kiddonomics. So I got a chance to present at our Head Start conference, and I presented their curriculum. So we take from all of your great things, and all of it's helpful and useful, and it's introduced us to a whole new audience. So then the second slide that I'm going to just speak about really quickly is the fact that we've tried to help with the parental engagement piece. So now we're just trying to fit where we need to fit, and parental engagement's huge in our state. They're always looking for ideas. So one of the plays that we plugged in, and I hope someday we can do this with some of our Danny Dollar that we're going to hear about in a little bit, but there are schools in our state that adopt a book as a K-5 read aloud, and the schools provide the books, but we provide resources. We provide a family guide. We produce adult resources to help adults just extend it. We provide resources for the teachers in the classroom as kind of culminating activities for every chapter they read at home. We also, thanks to Angie and to the CEE, we've hosted some fabulous financial literacy nights. Those have been fabulous, and we hope to integrate the econ games at the elementary level this next year. So I think there's ways to plug, even if it's not as what might be considered econ, we weave it sometimes and they don't even know. So recently I've got invited to go and talk about formative assessments in universities. And guess what? Every formative assessment I do is economics related. I took it from another subject often, but I make it economics. So any way that we can find a door, we're taking advantage of it. And we're going to play a formative assessment like we would do if we were at a workshop, right, Ange?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And we're also going to embed a little bit of a teaching moment into it, because the winners, the first place, second place, third place will get to choose from these prizes. And first prize, so this is because these are scarce. We can't give this to everybody on the call. So because these are scarce resources or scarce goods and services, we're going to actually, first place winner get to choose first, second place winner get to choose next, and then the third place person will get to, they get what's left over. So how's about that? So we're going to jump right on into it. I don't know. Can you still see my screen here? Oh, wrong screen. Okay. Let me switch over. Stop share. And let me reshare at where I want to share. There we go. All right. So we're going to go to Blook It, and we're going to do the candy quest, because you, my friends, are going to steal some candy right now. So we're going to host this game. We're going to, let's see, let's do, we said 3 minutes, Marsha.
I think that's fine.
3 minutes.
So if you've never played Blook It, teachers say it's like Kahoot on steroids. So have you played Blook It? How many of you have? Super fun. You can let them log in with their real name, or you can give them fictitious name, because this is a little more cutthroat than Kahoot. So you can steal from each other.
And
You want to give them
know
random
who's stealing
names?
whose?
Are you gonna give them random names, or are they gonna?
No, I want people to know who's stealing from them.
And what do we have to do on our end?
I think Calder is
You're
in
gonna-
because she's super competitive.
Okay, so you're gonna go to Blook It. Let's see if I can move this out of the way. I'm copying the join link. If you'll go to the chat, I'm putting it in the chat. All you have to do is click there and go straight there.
So another thing that's been super successful for us is that we do a webinar off of almost every national day, calendar day there is. So we've done a whole bunch this month on the whole idea of harvest and Halloween and fall activities. So this is a great Blook It to teach economics through fun stuff your students would enjoy.
So generally what you'll do is you will click on that link that I just gave you, and it's going to in a different tab, and it's going to take you here, and you're just going to put your name in real quick, and then you're going to be entered as a player. Thank you, Chandler and Selena. And generally what we do, what Marsha have done and I have done when we've done this, is when half of the people that are in on this call are in the game, then we're going to proceed forth. Once we get, we're going to say 12. Once we get 12 people, we're going to go ahead and start. Or maybe I'll do 13.
Angie,
Let's
you
see.
have 1 minute.
Oh, then you know what? Let me pause. Ooh, okay, so Marsha, I don't think we have time. I know, maybe, you know what? Maybe if we have time at the end, then we can come back to it.
Stop
How about that?
and let's move on.
Yeah, so we'll just do that, friends. We'll just do that. So I'm gonna turn the sound off. Okay, so we're gonna come back. So I'm going to stop my share, and then we'll let whoever is next.
Andrew.
Andrew, off to you.
Okay, so this actually piggybacks right off of what Marsha was talking about. So hopefully you can see my slides. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides. So I was thinking the other day about, what is this argument that we make to people about economics and children's literature? We know this is a best practice. We know this is a best practice, not only just for K-5, this is a best practice in our entire field. And there's a window, though, in which we can make use of this, right? So this is my point, that we know it's a best practice, but we only have a certain number of grades in order to make this effective. Now, if I said this in a big audience, people say, oh, I've used a children's book with my high school kids, or I've used a children's book with my college kids. Some people can make that happen. But most of us, if we walked into our college classroom or we walked into our high school classroom and we started using a book for K2, our students would give us a funny face. So my point is that there's a window in which this works, right? And we want to make sure that we don't miss this window. So my thing is, I'm beginning to think, and this also piggybacks off of a conversation I had a few years ago, actually with the superintendent of Philadelphia schools, so a very, very large urban school district. And he was very resistant to me and has historically been very resistant to me. And his predecessors have been very resistant to us. And one of the reasons is that they are very focused on the idea that economics is something that can wait. Personal finance is something that can wait. We have to focus on literacy. So just as Marsha was saying, and certainly Angie has said, and we have all argued, and I'm certainly preaching to the choir here, we know that what we want to do is to try to aim for coupling the economics with the children's literature. But in order to do that, I think we have to meet various districts halfway, and part of that is making sure that we're making use, if we can, and helping them with things that are in their anthologies. But also, I think arguing that if you wait, you miss this opportunity, this window. And once that window closes, in other words, the student has aged out of it, it's going to be difficult to be able to come back to that point. And I'll talk a little bit about some specific lessons and some specific books that we all know, we've all used these over the years. Something from Nothing. So this book, there's been lessons written a couple of times for this. The one that's on our website and the St. Louis Fed's website, and by the way, I've put a bit.ly down there for it, is Something from Nothing. And so this was Bonnie Meszaros, Judy Austin, who's a Delaware teacher, a retired Delaware teacher, and then Barb Flowers wrote this lesson. This is a super lesson for teaching little kids about choice and opportunity cost, super opportunity. When I get to the college classroom and I'm teaching principals, and I think this would be the same thing for a high school teacher, we don't have the time that you have in the K-5 classroom to focus on this topic. And when we have to go quickly through the ideas and the concepts of opportunity and choice and cost, we leave our students then without a good, strong understanding. And I know this, and some of you have taught college and certainly high school as well. You see this on the face of the students. You bring up opportunity costs later in the course, and their faces are blank. They don't have a deep understanding of this. But yet we've all seen elementary school kids who are very, very capable, who are very knowledgeable, having learned economics in the K-5 grades and learned opportunity cost early. They can make use of that tool over and over again in various ways. So by the time they get to high school and they get to college, they're going to have a good understanding of the concept. And so therefore they have a lot of ability then to go on to other concepts like comparative advantage. Tortilla Factory. This is another one that I wrote a few years ago with Gary Paulson's book. This is productive resources and intermediate goods. I don't spend much time in my principal's class. I can't spend much time on land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurial ability. And I know that my students don't have a deep understanding. I was teaching perfect competition last night, and I was talking about capital. And I can guarantee you that more than half that class thinks that capital is money used for building businesses, the financial definition of capital, not economics. But yet if they'd had that in elementary school, they would be coming in with that. Saturday Sancocho, another one that I wrote, one of my favorite lessons. This uses is barter versus money. So what's the difference between those two things? We know that people don't have a good understanding of the fundamental concept of money. They think money is, everything about money is what's the green pieces of paper that are in your pocket. And from the perspective of the Federal Reserve and from teaching monetary policy, getting people to understand deeply, now this one doesn't cover characteristics and functions of money, but getting people to understand what it takes to have a good quality money. You know, by the time you get to high school and college, either people assume the kids already know the characteristics and functions of money, or people are so advanced to sort of in their grade progression that they're not interested in spending a lot of time thinking about the characteristics of good money. And that's super important because, of course, that's at the core of what the Federal Reserve, where I work. And by the way, all of what I say today is under the standard disclaimer, which is these are my own views and not necessarily those of the Federal Reserve. So my conclusion for everyone is think about using this argument that there's a window, and in that window, if you as a teacher, as a school district waste that opportunity, that window is going to close. Now, one remediation might be that you could have older students, like high school students, to be able to go out and actually teach the lessons to younger kids. But there's also a time constraint issue with that. Certainly during the pandemic, there's probably some concerns about having high school kids going to elementary school kids. But that might be a way in which to get kids to use these lessons. But that's going to be just for some select situations. So not allowing that window to close, I think, is very valuable. So I'm going to pass it on. I think Selena and Abdullah are going to talk next about another program that's a great program. So I'll stop sharing here.
This is Selena's show today.
Yeah,
I'm just in attendance.
So I'm the cheerleader today for Abdullah and the program that he has started. Okay, so has anybody already read Danny Dollar that's here? Colleen, yeah, some of you. Okay, well, bear with me then, because those of you that haven't heard Danny Dollar, I'm going to read you a little bit of his story, okay? Just a little bit. Let me introduce myself. Danny Dollar, millionaire. Yes, you read it right. Millionaire. Okay, I'm not a millionaire yet, but I'm gonna be. Yep, this little knucklehead kid is gonna make it big. Not only will I become a millionaire, I've got a plan to do it by the time I'm 21 years old. That's about 10 years from now. And I'll tell you how I'm gonna do it in one word: investing. That's right, I said investing. Okay, you might be asking yourself, what the heck is investing? Well, I'll tell you, but first a little bit about me. I live in Eastchester section of the Bronx, New York, along with my mom, dad, and older sister. I'm your typical kid. I love music. I really love basketball, but the one thing I love the most is, well, money. Now, I know everyone loves money, but not like me. I'm a money maniac. I love money like other kids love candy. I know everything there is to know about money. For example, did you know the first forms of money were animals like cows? Yep, cows. People would trade cattle and animals for things they wanted. That's called bartering. Okay, so Danny Dollar, super awesome book. Y'all have probably heard Abdullah talk about it before. I had heard him talk about it before, but until I had a funder that came to me and said, Selena, we want to fund a project that addresses the third grade reading gate. And wouldn't it be awesome if it also taught personal finance? I said, oh my gosh, have I got the program for you? I have brought in $88,000 this calendar year for Danny Dollar. It is amazing. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what those things look like if I have time. $88,000. I didn't even know that till I sat down this morning and I was like, okay, let's add this up. So the company came to me and said, let's do this. So I reached out to Abdullah and I said, hey, we want to do this in Mississippi. That was actually back at the end of 2020, I think, but we launched in 21. We're buying these books. Every kid is getting their own book. So it's not just the teacher that gets the book, every child, and that's part of the program. But you may or may not know that the author of this book is an African-American man who has a son who wanted to learn about the things that are covered in this book. And when they went to the bookstore, they couldn't find anything that talked to his child. So as a friend of mine has taught me, because obviously I am not African-American, she said, Selena, you call that being culturally relevant. And I was like, thank you, Thea, for educating me. You know, those are the words. And I don't know what the rest of your states look like, but in Mississippi, we've got a large population of children that look like Danny Dollar, you know, and could never find any books that spoke to them. This book is written at the 3.5 level. So what that means, all of you probably know that a child in the second semester of third grade should be able to read it. I have had third grade parents tell me it's a little advanced for their children, but so the teacher will read along maybe, or the parents read along. We are promoting this for grades 3 through 5, 3 through 6. I had a school superintendent that said, I want my middle schoolers to do this. With the pandemic, a lot of kids' reading skills are behind schedule, you know, so the fact that it's maybe written at a lower level right now is not as big of a deal. We have also purchased, working with the author, he gave us, we signed a contract that allowed us to print these backpacks that have Danny Dollar on them. Each kid is getting one of those, as well as one of these fun little poppers. I don't know if you've seen these, but they're fidget things that don't make noise like the others did. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you here? So I have been able to hire a part-time person with this funding. It's her responsibility to work specifically with special education students. So we're using this book for kids that are even high school age that have a disability of some sort, because we also know that I've been told that children with disabilities, that they really struggle with their reading skills. So this is looking different ways. We're doing teacher trainings where the teachers get as many books as they need so that all of their kids can have a copy of their own book. By the way, there are excellent lesson plans that go with the book that have been written by either Abdullah or his partner organization, the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland.
And they
Yes,
are
yes.
NAI Bronze Award winning curriculum.
Yes. And so there are some that are specifically ELA, but then others that focus more on what I would consider the social studies. We are primarily training on the ELA lesson plans. So the ones that Abdullah has written, there are 8 of them, I believe. And so it's not too much of an ask to get teachers to agree to do 8 lesson plans. Also, he has an awesome competition that happens in the spring. We kind of thought about getting our own going locally. I haven't worked that out yet. I'm hoping maybe we can just jump in with Abdullah's competition in the spring instead of having to recreate the wheel. But so we have money in our budget to do prizes for students that are high performers with the program. We've used these in we did the Boys and Girls Club of Jackson, Mississippi this summer. So we went in and we trained all of their educators, their counselors. We've trained special education teachers, gifted teachers. We got a grant from the MGM Foundation to do this in the 2 areas that have, that's my timer. So I've used my 7 minutes, but if you want, we'll talk more later. You can reach out to me. We love Danny Dollar. Abdullah is an awesome partner. He does everything I ask of him. Can I have this? Can I have that? Can we do this? Can we do that? And so we're going to continue promoting. This is our really one and only, other than stock market game. It's our only program that we use with elementary school students in Mississippi. The end.
Selena, can I add one last thing? We
Yeah.
are looking for regional partners right now. So we have a regional partner model, and you get a discounted book price. This year it's $6 per book, and I think that saves you $1.98 from market price. But most importantly, all our regional partners receive our annual report, because we want you to go out and raise your own funds with some pre and post assessment data and overall data of the program. So thank you.
So our time is up. We have 1 minute left, and I want to thank all of our presenters. All of them provided us with some insights into working into the classroom with elementary teachers and elementary students. And it is my understanding that there will be a longer session in the spring at the NAI conference. So I invite all of you to attend that session to learn in more detail about programs that would work in your state. So we have a couple minutes. Actually, we don't. We're done. So again, thank you for attending, and our presenters. I wish we had more time for all of you because you had great information to share.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all.
Can you start the booklet game just so we can take a look, see what it's like?
The booklet game is super fun. You ought to play anyway, just for fun.
It is. I can look, you know what? I'm going to do it because that's
Great.
I'm going to do it just because, yeah, I'm starting it.
Okay, let me get back to mine.
And you can
It's on
jump
my
in too.
computer. It was on my computer.
Well, and then my question is, could I like take this and easily share it with my teachers in Chicago?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Oh, cool.
yeah, I shared it yesterday at a PD for our teachers to play with their students today. So it's public. We made it public.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you put NAI Halloween, you'll find it. Easy.
Okay.